everyone. My name is Hannah, and I am a nutrition educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Jefferson County. And I'm here with my friend Hiba to do some cooking and talk some parenting.
Hi, I'm Hiba Playa. I work for a family advocacy program located at 10250 4th Armored Division, Fort Drum.
Awesome. Hiba, do you know what we're making today?
Yes, so I had a sneak peek. I know that you're cooking energy balls.
Yeah, that's right.
And actually, those are my favorite because you don't need an oven to bake them. So easy peasy. I like that. I'm excited to follow you.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we've been talking a little bit about what kind of snacks we've been cooking with our families and things. And the weather's been so nice lately, and this is a really great one for in the summer and you don't want to turn your oven on.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I also think it's a great one because kids can help with it. We won't be too much worried as parents that they'll touch the oven or they burn themselves. So I think that's a great one to include kids in making.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I hope you'll show me as I work through this, where are some parts that I know your kids help you a lot with, or some things that they would help with. Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with, got a big bowl here, and I'm going to add all of my ingredients to it. It's really nice. You need minimal equipment, mostly just the one bowl and your hands. I'm going to go ahead and angle you down.
Okay.
So I'm starting with 1 cup of oats, and you can use whatever cup of oats you have. You'll see I have the quick cooking ones right here, but you could also old-fashioned. The ones that you don't want to use though are going to be like steel cut. They're going to be too tough.
Okay. We use old-fashioned at home. I think it's a good balance between not the sugary ones and not the quick ones. So we use the old-fashioned, and I like using it.
Perfect. Yeah, the old-fashioned, I prefer them a little bit more. I think they have a little bit more texture to them as well.
Yeah.
Oats are a great source of fiber as a whole grain. One thing you can do with your kids when you're in the kitchen and trying to teach them about choosing healthy foods and reading nutrition facts labels, things like that, if you have older kids, is have them look for a stamp, this yellow stamp here that shows that it's a whole grain. It also might say 100% whole grains on the top, and those are just easy numbers and things you can have kids look for.
Okay.
On the packaging, have them be package detectives.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Even when grocery shopping, maybe they can find it on the shelf.
Oh,
and help with that. I mean, I know most moms try to do grocery shopping alone, but if kids are older enough, it's a good experience for them to join for grocery shopping.
I think so too. I feel like I've met a lot of folks who never saw their parents grocery shop or anything like that, and so now it can be kind of a struggle to know how to decode all these things at the grocery store. So when you really start teaching your kids by showing them young, and then once they get older, they can go run off and find things for you and make your trip faster.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of raisins. You can whatever dried fruit that you like. Eva, I know you were talking about baking with dates with your kids.
Yes. So last night we cooked date bars. It's so much similar to banana bread. Simply, you're replacing your banana with dates. Because dates are harder and we cannot find them fresh in the market all the time. So the trick is to soften the dates before putting them into your batter mix. And the best way to do that is by adding 1/2 cup or even maybe 1/4 cup of boiled water on the dates, and smash them with a potato smasher, then add them. That will soften them. Then after that we add them after softening them with 1/4 cup of boiled water, we add them to the batter mix.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's a great tip that really you could do with any dried fruit, even like your raisins, but adding hot water to them will help them plump up. And it will just change the texture in some of your baked goods, make it more moist, like I'm sure your date bars were. Or also, if your kids don't really like dried fruit, give them another way to try it.
Yeah, and I told my kids yesterday's baking experience was part of their math lesson, because they're a little bit bored of doing math traditional way, pen and paper. So we used measuring cups and they were in charge of measurements to make sure to get their lesson of math yesterday.
Oh, I love that you can show them their practical ways to use those math skills. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I added my raisins, but you could use dates or cut up dried apricots. You could use dried blueberries, dried cherries, whatever you have lying around. A mixture of the two, having your kids choose or give suggestions would be great. And then I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of nuts.
Now, would this recipe works for fresh fruits like fresh berries, or no, it will be mushy?
Yeah, unfortunately, if you use fresh berries, it will be a little bit too mushy.
Okay.
Just kind of have more of like an oatmeal-esque dish, which would still be delicious, but it wouldn't be as portable.
Yeah.
Walnuts here, you could use whatever nuts you wanted. I like walnuts because they're pretty soft.
Yeah.
So when you're biting into these energy bites, it's a little bit softer. You can also make these nut-free by leaving these walnuts out if you have allergies or things like that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to go ahead and give them a rough chop so that they're smaller, more manageable sizes.
Okay. I think a question I always wanted to know the answer for is, what is the difference between walnuts and pecans?
Oh, yeah, they have really similar flavors. They're both really kind of soft, and they both have kind of this
the texture.
Yeah, the butterfly shape. But
yes.
Walnuts, if you've ever seen the shell, they're kind of bumpy. They kind of look like this a little bit on the outside, and they're kind of a light brown, kind of maybe this color.
Yeah.
Pecans are like an oval shell and dark brown and really smooth on the outside.
You're right. It's more flat. Pecans are more flat than walnuts.
Yeah. But that's a fun thing to do with your kids. I know we've been talking about getting outside more and like finding different nuts on the ground. I know we have black walnuts in my neighborhood.
Nice.
Like a nature scavenger hunt.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, and even I think sometimes with gardening, it's a good way to introduce different seeds to kids and count for a science project or science lesson. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's so fun. And then the kids get to see what comes up out of the ground. What comes from that tiny little seed, I'm sure is really astonishing the first time you see it. That's also, I'm glad you brought that up, Hiba, because we talk about that sometimes as a great way to help kids eat more vegetables.
Yep.
And I'm sure you talk about this in your classes as well. But when the kids have a hand in growing it, they're more likely to try it and see it as kind of like this exciting new thing.
Yeah, as a result of their experiment, I'm sure they will be more encouraged to try.
Yeah.
Okay, is that peanut butter?
Yeah, this is peanut butter. You can also use another nut butter though if you wanted to, or a sun butter if you have nut allergies. I did just want to say on my huge thing of peanut butter, you want to look at the sugars, the added sugars. And
okay.
It's super well on here, but it's going to be underneath total carbs. And that's because sometimes they will add a lot of sugar to peanut butter.
Oh. Even though it tastes a little bit to the salt side, not to the sweet side. Wow, I'm surprised they add sugar to peanut butter.
I know, and it's just one of those things that you can get the peanut butter without the added sugar and it tastes just as good, and then you're not getting all that added sugar in there, which can lead to health problems later on, and just is something that we don't really need as much of in our daily diets. And we're going to be adding honey to this anyways, so we don't really want a sweetened product, otherwise it'll be too sweet. So this is just 1/3 cup again.
Okay.
And scrape it in. And this is the fun part. I think if you were cooking with kids and you wanted to get a little bit messy, instead of using a spatula, make sure that they have clean hands, but then with clean hands, get it out with their finger.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like, it's so much more fun to be cooking when you can really be like tactile and know what your food feels like.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show you this trick I have going on here.
Oh.
I've seen this before, but my honey always congeals at the bottom of my bottle. Yeah.
I have the same problem.
Common problem. So to get it back into its liquid state like this, I just submerge it, or at least float it in a bowl of hot water.
Okay.
If you have a glass container of honey, you can microwave it. But in a plastic one, I like to not microwave it.
Yeah.
In case I don't want any chemicals leaching. Just be a little bit safer. But yes, in hot water, or at least warm water. It will take about 10-15 minutes, and then you have this nice liquid form. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of honey to this. And it's nice that it's liquid right now because it makes it so much easier to pour and measure.
Yeah, I think even in mixing, it's way more easier, especially if you're cooking with kids. That will make it easier if they're helping in mixing too.
Oh yeah, that's a super great point. Like, it won't get congealed and your kids won't get frustrated, and you'll have everything pretty well mixed.
Yeah, good trick. I'll use it next time I'm baking with my kids.
Good. Eva, so when you bake with your kids, what do you do? Do you ever find them getting like frustrated in the kitchen?
Not really, but I think if they spelled something by accident, they take it way too serious. Like they would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And I always try to remind them that when we're cooking, it's not about having everything is clean and perfect. Sometimes we cook something perfectly following instructions and we ended up burning that dish, or cooking it, or if we're baking, we would bake it for too long, it will be stale. It's not really about just the quality of the product we're making. It's more like about what we're learning from it. So it is okay. It's an experiment. Sometimes it could fail, and we would be super glad if it succeed, but we don't be frustrated if it did not succeed.
That's awesome. I love that mentality of like, you're in the kitchen to experiment. Like, it's just food. We can like play around with it. It will still be edible in a lot of cases, even if we measure something a little bit differently.
And sometimes I have to remind myself too, as a parent, it doesn't have to be perfect. If something fell or broke, or we lost something by accident, it is okay, because I really don't want to scar my kids' memories because something by accident happened. I'm sure they would not do it on purpose. They wouldn't break something on purpose. If they do it on purpose, then we will have a different conversation then.
Yeah, and then I'm sure your kids are going to grow up and have these like really beautiful memories of spending time together with their family and just being in a happy environment where they're not feeling stressed. So
yeah, and I think that's the whole point of asking them to help, is to teach them and also making memories too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know you're forming the bites. Okay.
I am. Yeah, so I just usually do spheres, ones that, for me, this would be 2 bites. For other people in the family, this is maybe more like 1 bite.
Yeah.
But again, if you have kids, this could be a really great time for some creativity as well, trying to make it to, or even like a geometry lesson if you're doing math again, but can you make it into a cube or shape it into a heart?
And I think depending on the child's age, it's really good to pay attention to the size, because sizes, measurements sometimes could be a choking hazard for kids. So if we have older kids, then definitely we can do circle a bite size or 2 bites. But if we have toddlers, we want to make sure either we feed it to them so they will not choke on it, or maybe use a different shape, a smaller size too.
Yeah, that's a really important point that I hadn't thought about. But yeah, if you're feeding younger kids and you're using like maybe a bigger piece of fruit, making sure to cut it up or cut your nuts really finely. Don't want to have any choking hazards in there.
Yeah, I'm still impressed that we really don't need any type of heat to cook this, to prepare this. It's like forming on its own. That's really good.
Yeah, and the fun thing is these actually even get better once they get cold, because they harden up a little bit more. If they get too hot.
Now, if we were on a road trip and we would take this with us, would that work for a snack, or do you think they will melt if it's hot outside?
That's a good question. I mean, even if they melt, they'll just be super messy, which you might not want in your road trip car.
Yeah.
Or the air conditioner on.
Now, would it help if we freeze them in the freezer?
Yeah, you could definitely freeze them, and that would keep them solid for longer. Yeah.
Longer, yeah.
And honestly, Hiba, these are so delicious that if you have them in your car, I doubt that they will
last for long. Yeah, I like all the ingredients in this, so definitely I'm going to try with my kids.
Yeah, they also make a really good healthier alternative to desserts. So instead of like bringing cookies or something,
a
party, making sure
candy, of
course, but you can bring these instead. They've got just the right amount of sweetness. You could even play around with how much honey you add in. I added the 2 tablespoons, but if you make these and find that they're too sweet, you could go down to 1 tablespoon. You could leave the honey out even.
What do you think? Would a picky eater try this food? Maybe if we included them in making it, absolutely they will be more willing to try.
Yeah, I think so. Including them in making it, giving them a special shape. Be like, oh, I made this special heart for you. Pretend that this is a heart.
Yeah, or a star, or whatever the kid's favorite shape.
Well, you're ambitious with the star, but yeah. So then these will go in the refrigerator for as long as you can stand before eating them. You can eat them right now, right away, of course. They'll firm up a little bit more in the refrigerator. And that's where they should be stored. So they will last up to 2 days if you haven't eaten them already. But you want to put them in an airtight container and then just keep them in your refrigerator.
Okay. And how long they would last? For how long we can keep them before get rid of 2 days?
2 days. Yep.
Okay.
That's the best length of time. Though I've never had any in my house go that long.
Okay. I get it. They're really good then.
They are. And they're a really good size. It doesn't make the recipe is nice because it doesn't make a whole bunch of them. It makes kind of like a good amount for a family to have it as a snack. You know, it's not, it's going to be a little bit of energy throughout the day.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, Hiba.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and I cannot wait to see you again soon.
We'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.